Today we cover the next video of my series about how to debate with different people, and today we are talking about feminism. And I want to remind you that this video, as most of the videos in this series, is kind of more factual video, less my opinion video, but still a starting point video, a video starting from which you can start educating yourself about this topic. And prior to actually going into the topic, I have a couple of questions for you, and if you want you can answer them in the comments. I am actually interested in your answers. And the questions are like, what do you know about feminism? Have you ever heard about feminism, and what do you know about it? Do you consider yourself a feminist, or do you consider feminist movement or some parts of this movement interesting or profitable or making sense and whatnot? This question and a couple of other questions I will cover in the video, but please, if you have already some opinion about that, it would be interesting for me to know A, whether you had one, and B, whether your opinion changed after watching this video. Anyway, let's begin. But obviously before we begin, I have to tell you that this is Yury Experience, and here I share my various experiences about different topics. I do currently one video per week, it comes on Monday, and if you will enjoy this video, please drop a like, you can also subscribe to the channel, you can also leave a comment. Let's go. Obviously we start with the definition. Here's an official definition, and in my own words, feminism is a fight for equal opportunities and equal outcomes for different sexes, for both sexes, there are only two. It means financial equality, it means political equality, it means social equality, all the possible equalities that are there. Everything shall be equal between both sexes. Depending on the definition of the feminism, it also includes all genders, or maybe the people of different sexes and different races and whatnot, and I will touch this in a moment. But overall, this movement is about equality between people, and like the main focal point at the beginning was men and women, and afterwards it developed in something more, in something bigger. And maybe you are living in one of the developed countries and you are asking yourself, do we still need feminism? Do we need this fight for equal rights? We have equal rights. We don't need these fights anymore. It is not completely true. Partially, yes, a lot of countries made a lot of improvements in terms of equal rights between different people of different sexes, but not everything is as good as it could be or as good as we imagine it to be. First, obviously, in a lot of countries there is still a lot of oppression, discrimination towards women just based on the fact that they are women. Only because they were born with that sex, they are not allowed to do a hell of stuff that men can do, and if they try to do it, they will be punished, and heavily punished, sometimes depending on the country, even death. Then we have the situation where discrimination in the past leads to problems or led to problems to the problems nowadays, in the current times. For example, science. In the most research projects of the past, the main participants were, or almost all participants were, white men, which means this research or these researchers didn't cover any other group of people, and sometimes being a part of other group of people is of importance. It was already observed that some of the illnesses showed themselves differently in men and in women. For example, heart attack. The heart attack is shown in men differently than women, the response is different, which is why if you don't know that heart attack in women has following symptoms, however the symptoms are, then you will not respond to it, and that can lead to death of that specific person. And then we obviously have some modern problems that still exist in these developed countries that already did a lot for feminism, for equal rights, but they didn't do enough at the moment. There's still a lot of discrimination based on sex also. It depends mainly on what we are talking about, like structural discrimination, like not enough responsibility for your own body, this whole topic of abortions and whatnot. There are a hell lot of types of feminism, there are a hell lot of ways of this interpretation of the idea, how shall we get equal rights among sexes? Which is also sometimes a reason why it is difficult to understand whether you are a feminist or not feminist, because depending on the definition you will be a feminist or you will not be a feminist, which is like common situation for a lot of these isms. Anyway, I will cover big three, like this first big three ways of interpreting the idea, and starting from there you can do your own research for like what is modern ideas and what is normal to think about feminism right now, depending again on the country. And we start with the first one, with liberal feminism. And the idea of liberal feminism: we will change the law, we will do some adjustments, we will not change the whole structure, but we will find a way how to like include women in the structure which it excluded women up to this point. So we will push for reforms, we will try to change something in society, laws, rules, maybe interpretations of some rules, and thanks to that, women will start getting involved in these whole actions in society, in all movements in society, which were previously only done by men, but now also women are allowed to participate and will participate after some point because they are allowed to do it right now. Liberal feminism is a route for other types of feminism, but it also is considered a pretty mild version of feminism, but also pretty practical. So we don't need to destroy everything in order to include women in the society. No, we need to adjust the society, adjust the rules how society works, so women are not excluded from it. We include somebody who actually is in it anyway. The second type of feminism which I will cover is socialist feminism, and logically socialist feminism is thinking that capitalism is one of the roots of the oppression, and that's the reason why women were oppressed throughout the history, because they didn't really participate in financial life and they were always dependent on their partners. And this type of feminism considers financial independence as the solution for the problem. As soon as women will become financially and overall as independent as possible from their partners and from the society, then they will be like on equal grounds basically with everybody else, with men. And the last of the big three is radical feminism, which obviously happens if you have some isms, some ideas. There will always be some radical form of it, and in this case the radical feminism has an idea that we need to destroy the whole structure, we need to destroy this system that created an oppression, the system that is like ruled and has as authorities mainly men, so basically patriarchy. We need to destroy it in order to create new solutions, some new solution where everybody will be equal. We need to destroy what we have now in order to create something new, something better. Or like we need to reorder the society. So we need to reorder what we have now in order for it to not have male supremacy anymore. But if you ask me personally, it is my personal opinion, it is not really possible to like jump to that point without destruction of everything that we have prior to this point. But that is my personal opinion. So basically these big three types of feminism go for feminism like through different routes, but they all want one thing. They want equal rights between men and women. One goes more like political ways, the liberal feminism. One goes more like economical ways, the socialist feminism, although politics is always obviously involved. And radical feminism is like almost goes in anarchist way, but not completely, depending on how you view it. One of the most modern versions of feminism is intersectional feminism, which considers it all from a little bit different perspective. It says, yes, men and women don't have equal rights or not have equal standing in all of the situations, but problems have like deeper roots. The problems are deeper than only that. We also need to look at, for example, race, or maybe status, or maybe height or whatnot, or maybe the objective beauty of that person. So basically the situations, the oppressions that person experiences, the amount of rights that person has depends on more factors than just sex. For example, experience of black woman will be different than experience of white woman. Experience of like lesbian woman will be different than experience of heterosexual woman. And basically we need to consider like more of these problems, and we need to work towards solution of all of them. So like everybody, not only men and women, but also everybody along the different sections of life, different groups of life, also have equal rights. Obviously there are also more types of feminism. Again, if you want, you can find it in the everywhere. Internet is big. For example, there's ecofeminism, about which I didn't hear prior until preparation for this video. I didn't know that something like that could exist, but it exists, ecofeminism. But we go to the next point, critique. Obviously, some ism has critique to this ism. And feminism also has enough critique, I think you also heard about it too. And with some points I more agree, with some points I more disagree, but I will cover a couple of them. And we start with a more conservative point of view, in terms of it is good how it was. We don't need to change it. It worked up until now, it worked when women basically were in the kitchen and men were basically in the factory, men were providers, women were like household people, household responsible people, and it is good like that. We don't need even to try to change it. Then we have another conservative point of view, a religious conservative point of view, which is like we have this religion situation, like it is written in this saint book, this like precious book, holy book, that's the word. It is written in the holy book that women shall be considered differently than men, and that's why we do it. And yes, it's not always like that actually in the books. That is why for each religion there also exists that religion feminism, Islamic feminism, Jewish feminism, Catholic feminism and whatnot. But obviously there are also conservative people who just saying no. We don't like this feminism, we don't like it here, no. With these 2 points that I covered prior to now, I don't agree. I think that conservative thinking is good in some occasions, it's bad in different occasions, and this is a situation where conservative thinking, in my personal opinion, is not the way to go, but it is my personal opinion. But now come the points of critique that I kinda agree with. And the first one is generalization. Like, although intersectional feminism does a lot in terms of like thinking of what type of discrimination that person has in comparison to that person, depending on that group of that person, still there are a hell lot of generalizations in terms of what people like live through, which leads to the fact that these generalizations are taken and are used for pretty much everybody as a slogan. So we have this problem, everybody has this problem, although it can be the case that only like loud majority has this problem, but not everybody. And this generalization is something that overall is considered bad. Like, it is bad to generalize in most other topics, but somehow in feminism it is okay to generalize one problem that is specific for one group of people to everybody. Then we have like the loudest, I think, critique point for feminism, and is not considering male rights in this whole equation. If you are looking for like information about feminism, you will mainly find like women's rights as a focal point of that movement, which is pretty logical. Like, women were not in the position to fight for their own rights for a prolonged period of time, and they were under pressure or not having responsibility for pretty much anything in their life for a long period of time. Which is why it is logical that feminism fights for like more opportunities for this previously oppressed group of people. But everything comes with a price, and that is a big question: what price shall we pay as a society, or maybe men, what price shall men pay for feminism, for equal rights, or maybe for something that some ideologies try to depict as equal rights? Because obviously if we want to create equal opportunities for everybody, then some opportunities will be taken from one group of people and spread among other group of people. And in my personal opinion, that part is still okay. It is okay to spread it better, to spread it more fitting, so people who are actually deserving the place will get it independent of their sex, race and whatnot. Where I personally start taking issue is when the concentration, the focal point of the feminist movement is on the good parts of the man's life, and the bad parts of it are completely ignored. So like typical example is there is this conversation about the fact that there are not enough women CEOs in the society, but there's no conversation that there are not enough like women garbage collectors in the society. Because technically, if you want equality, you want equality everywhere. But somehow, at least when I heard these different discussions about feminism, I heard about we want to get the best part, like the cherry on the top, but we don't want to play it with the whole cake. We just want the cherry. And obviously, it is like the loud minorities that I heard about that point. Probably radical feminism. But still, it is something that some people do consider to be true, that it is okay to just want like the best, but ignore everything else. But in my personal opinion, everything has a price. And if you are trying to achieve something big, then you need to lose something big. And it's a kind of question for everybody: what are you ready to lose in order to acquire something? For example, based on my knowledge, women didn't want, so a lot of women didn't want to vote at the beginning, because with ability to vote also came responsibility, like for example needing to go to an army or whatnot. And a lot of women didn't want that responsibility, but other women wanted it, and which is why, like, what was it right of one group of people to like spread this ability to vote, although they also spread the responsibility that comes with it. And my last critique point is a lot of ideas that I read and heard about in terms of feminism are not the ideas that are based on something. It is like this ideology that talks about some utopical ideas, not all of them, but some of the utopical ideas that I, at least in the modern society, don't see as possible. Like, okay, let's go away from this ideal equality, because I don't think that ideal anything is attainable. So real equality, how close can we get to there? Especially including the fact that a lot of people do like gender roles that are in society, do want to uphold them, which is why do we still leave them the choice, but then we go away from equality because we will not, for example, get ideal equal pay? Although realistically, men and women have equal pay if we consider most of the things in most of the situations. But if we are talking in terms of ideal equal pay, so independently of the fact where people work, independently of their personality and whatnot, we will not get equal pay if everybody is allowed to do whatever that person wants. Because some women will want to stay basically in household, some men will want to stay at work. On the other hand, some women will want to go to work and some men will stay at home, which is completely fine. But my point is, if we leave the people the choice, can we really acquire feminism? And this red line I have with a lot of topics in terms of feminism, because a lot of that is like, let us do it, it will be better afterwards, but there's literally no proof of that being better for society overall, but also for some specific groups of people afterwards. Because some feminist movements are critiqued by women who are saying, we don't want it, we don't want what you are trying to push on us, we don't want that, it is good what we have now. And for me the question, is it fine to make these people accept your ideas just because you consider them being better? And sometimes these ideas are better, but sometimes they are not better. But it is slightly already philosophical discussion. The only question that I have in the end for you is, do you consider yourself a feminist? Because I personally don't consider myself a feminist. I do support a lot of feminist ideas. For example, I do like idea of liberal feminism that I discovered mainly today. I do like the idea of intersectional feminism, and I'm talking about intersectional feminism basically like in a lot of my videos. I don't call it intersectional feminism, but I'm talking about it. But I personally at the moment don't fight for equal rights with women. I do my best to treat all women fairly in my life. I do my best in my personal life, but I don't do it on societal level. What are you doing for that? Do you think you do enough? Do you think you could do more? Do you think I could do more? That's a question that I don't really have an answer for or two. And if you have an answer, the comments are open. Except for that, yeah, that's pretty much it. As I already told you, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, you can also leave a like, you can also subscribe to the channel, you can also leave a comment, and I will see you next finally, probably. Have a great week.